From the team that made Snowdrop Escape comes a mod that's grander, bigger, and better. Welcome to Swelter, a mod that was recently released on Steam after much anticipation from the community. From the screenshots, I already knew this was a gorgeous looking mod, but does it play as well as it looks? Swelter is a mod that I thought would last, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes. Turns out it led me on this epic journey across city blocks, apartments, the sewers, the desert, and even the goddamn air. Join me as we rampage through a Combine-occupied Central Asia. The story starts off many years before Half-Life 2 happens, with us, John Swelter, sitting in a train. Basically, we're part of the Resistance and we're on our way to make amends with another group of rebels that are active in the steppes of Central Asia. We meet a girl on the train who's our informant and she asks us to jump off the train, and we do. What a madman! Lamau! What Swelter does really nice is the visuals. Right from this train tracks area, I was stunned to see how absolutely beautiful this all looks. The maps are filled to the brim with all sorts of details, and all of it is very consistent in each of the chapters. We make our way into a small cabin where a metro cop is about to do nice things to some people, but we get in the way. The people die anyway though. This is the part where I gotta mention that Swelter does have some issues in its gameplay. Like here, I had no idea to run across the train to escape the cop because that's the direction I came from. But it should be pretty obvious to me since the train literally arrives as soon as you jump out the cabin, but for me personally, I had to do a lot of trial and error to figure this out. Of course, you have to keep in mind that I suffer from heavy brain damage, but anyway, escaping from the cop, we end up inside City 545. Seeing the Lambda sign, I knew this was where I was supposed to go. We meet two of our fellow rebels who talk about excitement and weapons. Then a nice lady invites us into her home through a window and gives us armor to wear. What a nice lady. We also have this notepad to keep track of what's going on, and that's a nice touch. Albeit it's very derivative of the original source material. One of the best things I liked about the mod was how well the interior sections looked. Like I always say, it's easy to make a map look clean, but extremely difficult to make it look dirty. We come face to face with an APC and a rebel asks us to throw missiles at him. He blows up the APC and we all go out for ice cream. Here we meet Academic. Yes, that's his name. Basically, we need to help this academic guy to get close to the leader of the other rebel faction, Roki, and try to make amends with him. I gotta say, Academic has a really nice mustache. And now, we move on to the city streets. The latter half of the first chapter is just straight up firefights across the city. In the streets, in the buildings, and everywhere else where possible. One thing I love throughout this chapter is that you don't feel bored from seeing the city. The mod always manages to mix things up in a way that keeps the action always fresh. There's all sorts of building you go through or fight outside of that serve as a very nice backdrop to the whole story. Speaking of story, we're helping Academic to help these people escape from the city. To be honest, the story aspect of the mod is I think one of the weaker parts of it. I mean, it isn't bad or anything, but it's not that special either. It's a simple story that some people might like and some might not. And the voice acting that goes along with it is actually fine, since none of the characters are supposed to be American or British, but rather Slavic or from Central Asia. So their English accents do suit the location they're in.
Nope. We've got children, wives, and parents. We will not take risks.
And for the people complaining that the voice acting is bad, what were you expecting from characters in a post-Soviet country? Voice acting like from David Attenborough or something? I witnessed a weird glitch here where Academic's pathfinding broke and I had to push him all the way across the city to continue the game. After all of that, we meet up with another rebel and help his squad kill Combine cops and soldiers. What happens next is balls to the walls, action-packed sections of murder, gunfights, and straight-up anarchy. There's a lot of interactivity in the mod, like here where we have to fix up a truck by putting tape on its fuel tank and refilling it with diesel. This sort of interactivity later shows up for puzzles as well. Then we take down an APC, murder a whole lot more, and meet up with the Bomberman. Like I mentioned before, the mod doesn't get boring and the sense of progression as you fight through hordes of soldiers is very satisfying. Like in this section, we're fighting our way to liberate the local school from the Combine. Here we become Sniper Elite and snipe 3 lookout soldiers before the assault on the school begins. I gotta admit, the mod is very ambitious in trying out new things and scenarios, but it does get a little frustrating in the later half. After removing all Combine soldiers by putting some bullets in them, Academic asks us to meet him in a bar somewhere underground. Now, I want you to guess what Academic wants us to do. Murder Combine soldiers, of course. I love murdering oppressive military people, how did you know? Now this firefight was overwhelming for me because at one point the Combine just straight up gangbang you from all possible directions, but the Matrix-inspired destruction effects of the pillars and the walls was actually very satisfying to look at. At this point in my playthrough, I actually did start to get a little bored from all the gunfights and especially the city backdrop. Of course it still looks amazing, but I wanted a change of scenery, something new. Thankfully, this is the last section of the city levels where we literally put buildings on fire and assault a Combine building that has a auto-targeting missile turret. There was a little puzzle here and I had no idea how to solve it, but turns out I just had to take out this switch from one wall socket and put it in another. After blowing up the turret, Academic asks us to go underground to meet up with his group leader, Roki. You know, the person we're here for in the first place. But before we move on, I gotta say that the mod really made me feel bipolar in a way. In some cases I was like, okay, I know exactly what to do, and in other cases I banged my head against the wall trying to figure out what to do. This sort of back and forth between knowing and struggling continues throughout the mod and unfortunately gets worse as the mod goes along. But again, that doesn't make this a bad mod, it's just irritating in some spots. With all that said, let's continue. Welcome to the Central Asian outdoors. We got sand, some more sand, and more antlions than God intended there to be. While the actual term for these places is steppes, I'm just gonna call it the desert or the outdoors cause that sounds more normal. What the fuck is a steppe anyway? Oh, that's a steppe. This whole scenery of the city border walls that stretches on for miles is definitely something to gawk at. It's just really cool. But anyway, we're trying to escape from the city ourselves, but first, we need to clear out of the outskirts. What's in the outskirts? Antlions, of course. And zombies too. I was amazed at how well this whole ruined area of the city looked. The trails of destruction left here because of the Combine is almost eerie. There was a puzzle here that reminded me of that root canal seesaw puzzle, but here it was made infinitely worse because of the antlions. Now I was thinking maybe I have to do this while fending off the antlions. I was almost about to leave a negative review on Steam when I realized you can actually shut off the infinite spawning antlions by just rolling this pipe down here. Now, I might admit that I should have realized that the pipe was there, but I am a Half-Life fan and we don't hold ourselves accountable for anything. Exactly. But I'll say this for sure, you are going to absolutely despise antlions after playing this mod if you don't do already. Now, regarding the story, I had a hard time following it honestly. I mean, who are these people? Are these our faction's members or are these Roki's faction members? I had no idea and their lines weren't particularly helpful either. Like, who's this guy? Is he Roki? Or is he just a local leader of the rebels, but which faction? I have no idea, honestly. Then we see a recording of our informant and she basically repeats what we already know. Infiltrate the other group, make friends with Roki, their leader, and make amends. This part here with the messed up tents and destroyed cars and washed up boats was awesome. The overall sense of scale when it came to the map size was very overwhelming, where it made me feel like a little part of something very big going on in the world. This part had a lot of Lost Coast vibes and I dig that. Also there were a bunch of bull squids here as well. Can't forget the bull squids, they burnt me to a crisp. I met this lady and honestly I appreciate what they were going for with the world building, but honestly this whole dialogue is just... Hopping from boat to boat we make it to the other side because I'm guessing the water had some very angry fishes in them. After handling 3 angry bull squids, I come across a puzzle. Also there was this nice little... bird. Rest in peace my feathery friend. I will avenge your death come hell or high water. Okay, the puzzle. What we need to do is hit that electricity switch with a brick, it turns off the electric fences, grab a bomb, throw it at the switch, it permanently opens the door that we have to go through. Easy, right? Then we meet Top Hat Machine Gun Man and he gives us a sort of a gravity gun, I guess. It can only shoot but it can't grab. I also kind of find it adorable that it looks like one of the early gravity gun models. And oh boy, time to get the car. But it isn't that simple. And that's one of the things this mod does. Every section that's not a fighting section has you using your brain to achieve your goal. Sometimes it works and sometimes it's just... you're spending hours trying to figure out why this puzzle isn't working. Turns out I had to jump over the wall, then flip the switch, then flip these switches, and then I could get the Jeep. And as soon as you think you're gonna be speeding down a freeway, this appears. And I thought, okay, maybe I need to use the magnetic gun, the gun that I just got, to push this thing out of the way, but nope, that wasn't the case. So I just cheesed this area and hoped to find open roads, but guess what? There was another locked gate here. Wow! The vehicle section of this mod is long to say the least. Combine both of Water Hazard and Highway 17 and maybe even more and you got this mod's car section. While it does try to break up the driving with stops like here where you have to clear the way for your car, it does freshen up things a bit. But honestly, I would have preferred a much more action-oriented driving part than getting in and out of my car every few minutes. All in all, it's good, but I'd say people are gonna get frustrated with how much breaks you have to take and how many antlions you have to kill. The mod I think uses some systems from either Dark Interval or Entropy 02 because that radar on the Jeep and this radar down here both feel like I've seen them before. They're a good way to finding your way back to your car, plus the Jeep's radar can alert you for spots of interest. So we stop at another village where their leader wants us to set up the bug repellent. We do that by zapping it many times, kill about 24 antlions and then connect it to the power grid. Then they give us supplies and we go on our merry way. I found this truck on my way which had some supplies and also some giant rats. You'll find spots like these throughout the chapter. This part here would have been much better if there weren't any fucking antlions, honestly. So we reach an abandoned factory, right? But we have to open this gate, but there's no way to open it yourself, so I guess we need another person. But before I could do that, I need to turn on this bug repellent. But it needs 2 things, fuel and a shotgun shell? I found the fuel right away, but what does it mean by the shotgun shell? Turns out in the other building there's a lady and some shells and we grab the shell to start the machine and that nice lady helps us open the gate. But the constant bickering by the goddamn antlions had me so mad at this point that I honestly was about to cancel this whole video. So after driving for a bit and driving some more, we end up at this place and again, gate closed. Open it somehow. You know, I would be okay with these stops in a driving section, but honestly, using the same scenario of gate closed, open gate is just boring after the first 5 times. Sure, the means of opening the gate might be different every time, but the fact that we're doing all of this just to open a gate is just not exhilarating. But fret not, after clearing that section, we make our way to this abandoned building, and our goal here is to open a locked gate, of course. What the fuck did you think we were gonna do? Something else? Idiot. Anyway, this time we use the power of video editing and the gate opens by itself. Wow. So after enjoying the views of the Central Asian landscapes, we come across another gate. Okay. Fuck this. I quit. Moving on, we come across an abandoned village and it all looks pretty spooky. Who knows what we would find here? Maybe a character like Father Gregory or some monster or a boss battle. Actually, what we do find here is much more terrifying. A locked gate. Dun dun dun! Look, I get it, in Half-Life 2 in both the vehicle sections combined there's a total of 6 times we stop for like 2 minutes tops. But this is just ridiculous, man. If you're gonna have this many locked gates in your driving section, might as well not have a driving section at all. I love how this mod looks, I absolutely adore its visuals, but gameplay choices like this just make it very hard for me to appreciate it overall. And at the end of it all I can say is just that it looks good, but the gameplay? And this locked gate has you doing that electricity switch box puzzle thing again, where you have to turn it on and then immediately trick shot this switch on the wall. What do you think I am, the fucking FaZe Clan? Then we finally make it to one of Roki's squad and park our car with them. The rest of our journey will be on foot. As we're running across the train tracks, my all-time favorite enemies make an appearance, the fucking antlions. After all that, and spending more time than I actually should have trying to figure this out, we make it to Roki's headquarters. After all this time, all this journey, we'll be able to meet the man, the myth, the legend, John Roki. So basically in the story, 2 factions of the rebels are caught in sort of a ideological and methodological civil war. They don't agree with each other, and Roki's the leader of the faction that operates in the desert, while we're from the group that works in the cities. Now, this scene was actually pretty cool, but it had no impact like it should have. Roki leads us to something that he says is the reason they've been risking their lives for, but why bring this up now? Why not lead the whole story with this point? That they've been able to procreate regardless of the Combine's anti-caboodling technology. This point is just brought up here and never before and never again. If I could rewrite the story, I would put this specific point as the point that balances the 2 factions' ideologies. Roki's group is wanting to continue life while our group is, I don't know, hungry for power in the desert? I don't know. What is our group's motivation? Why are we in conflict with Roki's group? It's never explained. Sorry that I went on a tangent, but I just feel there was a lot of potential for the story to be very thought-provoking after seeing this scene, but the mod just misses the chance. Now, this was one of the best parts in the whole mod, specifically because it activated my nostalgia neurons. The music that plays here. Hearing this soundtrack immediately put a smile on my face, and I absolutely loved this whole boss fight. Although it's a bit difficult to aim and hit the chopper with a grenade launcher, I'll chalk that up to me being bad at the game. It took me multiple tries, but if you're an uber awesome mega gamer, you shouldn't have any problem here. Then Roki asks us to get on a train because they're all going to perform a very special operation against the Combine. We get sick for some reason, this sickness is never explained by the way, but goddamn, this part of the map looks so goddamn beautiful. The sun setting, the orange colored skybox, the sun rays hitting the ground, it's all just so good. But of course, we meet an old friend here. Which old friend? A locked gate, of course. This is a pretty simple puzzle though. You just need to replace the fuse with a new one and just move on ahead. Then Roki explains the operation to us. Basically, this tunnel leads to the Overwatch Nexus building and the Combine have no idea this tunnel exists. So basically, we're gonna be surprising the Combine and shoot them in the face. This underground place, and some before it actually, did remind me a lot of episode 2 for some reason. And I don't know if I can give the visuals a better compliment than that. The tone, the mood, the atmosphere is all done so well. So we accompany Roki and his death squad up the stairs to begin the assault. The assault on the Nexus building is actually pretty well designed. It's thrilling, fast-paced, and just overall entertaining to go through. A sort of redemption from the mistakes the mod made before or after this section. In summary, we need to take control of the building and copy over data from the building's control center. In between, there's plenty of gunfights against the Combine soldiers and sections like these where you have to disable turrets using grenades. All the people who mapped for this mod did a bang-up job cause the buildings look so goddamn nice from inside. It's the perfect fusion between whatever the building was before and the new Combine technology plastered all over the place. While they copy the data, why don't we murder a few Combine soldiers while we're here? While trying to escape from the building, we fall ill again and start vomiting all over the place. Thankfully, Roki saves us and takes us with him. But then, we learn the truth. Remember in the beginning I mentioned that we were supposed to make amends with Roki? Well... we wake up and find our informants standing at the door pissed off at us. Then we get a flashback where we learn that we were actually tasked with infiltrating Roki's faction and then assassinating Roki, making it look like an accident. This is basically the big plot twist of the mod. You're not here to be friends with him, you're here to kill him. In a way, I kinda like this plot twist, even though it's kinda stereotypical, but still. While it does feel kind of odd that rebels have divided amongst themselves and have political issues of this level, this sudden reveal is kinda nice. So we go outside, get on a jeep with Roki, and turns out we're getting on a plane, and Roki wants to make it look like the plane crashed, but actually we'll just parachute off before it ever happens. This will make the Combine stop chasing him, and us. But how do we assassinate him? He's our friend. He saved us when we were almost about to die. Anyway, we get on the plane and Roki shows us the dummy corpses that the Combine will find once the plane crashes. Then we get chased by turrets, and so, get ready for the most infuriating part of this whole mod. Like seriously, this is one of the most unbalanced sections I've ever played in any mod. You literally take a billion seconds to reload, the drones keep swarming you, and after just a few hits, the game fails you and you have to do this again. Thankfully, someone on the Steam discussion page is set to aim to the top right of the drones to instantly kill them. Following that advice, I was able to do this successfully, but please, if you suffer from anger issues, do not play this part. Just quit the mod when you get here. After taking out the drones, a gunship appears and we're introduced to the most weirdest puzzle ever. Turn these switches to make the yellow box appear and then move the red boxes down to move and match, and what? The instructions made no sense, but what you actually have to do is put the red boxes where the yellow box lands in all 4 columns. After that, Roki asks us to man a drone that he's flying so we can start playing Call of Duty. Now this part is actually a really good idea and I like it, but the constant moving of the drone like this makes it so hard to aim and hit the gunship. But after downing the gunship, we prepare to parachute off, but Roki stops us and tells us that he knows someone's coming over to murder him. The plane explodes and both of us are in the air and we get a choice. Either you murder Roki or you let him live. But he's our comrade, our friend. We've been through thick and thin together. But I have a mission. What should I do? For the sake of this video, I shot him first. The ending is just a narration of us saying that Roki's faction disbanded, yada yada yada, and the city faction rebels overtook Roki's shit, and Gordon arrived 12 years later, and boom, the end. Then I loaded an old save game and let Roki live. He later narrates that after they found out about the city faction's plan, the city faction's reputation went down, and the codes Roki stole from the Nexus building helped him fight the Combine, and everybody moved out to the desert and lived happily ever after. The end. Well, oh, that was something. Swelter is a solid mod to say the least. As obvious by now, it looks absolutely stunning and it plays very nice as well, but there are cracks in this perfection that could have been avoided by changing things up or even shortening the length of the mod. While it deviates a little bit from the original games in some ways, it still holds up in terms of introducing new ideas and mechanics to the gameplay. Call me biased or whatever, but my benchmark for reviewing mods is Entropy 02. Every mod that aims to do something big, I immediately compare it to Easy 2. And I can say with a certainty that Swelter, even with its faults, falls in the same league. And if it had more polish in its gameplay and story, hell, I would have ranked it at the same rank as Easy 2 in my books. So yeah, Swelter is pretty goddamn good. Go check it out on Steam, and thanks so much for watching. A big thanks goes out to the benefactors for supporting the channel. Bako, Ryan W, Unusual, Taylor, NoClick, Geout, Fisher Grice, TTG, Lambda, Hawk Assault, Mr. Spaban, Alien Grunt, Mark Jellen, A Normal Street Lamp, TRR Droid, and Bipullet. Thanks again, and see you in the next one.